Chubfather and JD in here talking to me during the break. I had no idea the show was starting, AJ. I just happened to plug my headphones up, and I heard the music, and I was like, I better sit down and start talking.
And then, like, JD was, like, standing right in front of me, and I'm, like, waving my arms frantically.
I couldn't see you because we were talking about the rules as it applies to candidate interviews, and I was giving a little background on that. But, hey, how you doing, man?
I'm too blessed to be depressed, man. I'm good.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's get to it. It's going to be a busy afternoon, and a lot of speculation. Let me just start with at Brown University. We're going to have a news conference allegedly at 3 o'clock our time. These things are always delayed. And when and if that happens, of course, we got to keep our break schedule and try to stay on time. We'll go to that and see if there's anything new. Just let me stay on that case just for a minute. Then I got to flip to the Trump thing tonight. But they put out another picture of a person they want to talk to. They're not saying this person is a second suspect, but they're saying that this person came into proximity with this original person that they have been looking for. Does that make sense? So they either want to talk to this person because this person might have gotten a good close-up look at the shooter or this alleged shooter that they're keep showing us the video of, the fat guy. We got to name him because they won't tell us anything. What are we going to call the first guy? Pudgy dude?
I was going to say Jake, and the other one is the fat guy.
Jake and the fat man. Okay. Well, the other one's just as fat. And I can't tell if that's a man or a woman. The second picture, the front on has a very masculine face, but as others online have pointed out, it looks like they're wearing a hijab underneath the hoodie. And then when they go sort of to a profile picture of the second person, looks a little more feminine. I don't know. This is the most screwed up thing, and it naturally would be something that's would incense you if you're from the Birmingham area, because that's our neighbor. There's a family in our community in mourning over their precious daughter who's just taken, whether targeted or not. And a lot of folks speculate that that's the case. But the school's being cagey, and the police are being cagey, and the mayor and the politicians up there in Rhode Island, they're very defensive. And you can read it, you can hear it, their evasiveness. There's something to that. I don't know if it's a big financial liability. There's some information out today about the security posture of that school and why it was so vulnerable. I'll get into some granular details on that in just a little bit. I got to let the caffeine kick in first. But we'll talk more about the second suspect. I'll fill as much as we know to the moment, and then we'll go to this thing at 3 o'clock. Now, the Trump thing tonight, they had been telegraphing this as Trump doing, really, in my words, a victory lap. He's had a pretty good year. The economy's not where people can feel it yet, but the fundamental numbers look good. We're heading in a good direction. Next year, all the tax, all the stuff they passed in that big, beautiful bill that he called it starts to kick in next year. You'll start to see better take-home pay. If you're working in the service industry, no tax on tips. Social Security folks, tax cut. All that stuff starts to feel real. You can't feel it yet. You can just see it in the numbers. So we've still got all that to go through. And so we thought Trump was largely going to talk about that. And they said the tease was that he may hint around at some new policy initiatives for next year. Well, now we're getting reports, and honestly, Tucker Carlson is one of the ones out there ahead of it, claiming he's talked to members of Congress that say what Trump's also going to say tonight is we have gone to war with Venezuela. So who knows? Last night I was speculating that if we were going to, he wouldn't telegraph that we were going to war. And so if that's the case, let's just play with that for a minute, presuming that it's true. And it's coming from Tucker, who's gotten weird lately. I don't understand what's happening to some of these people. But anyway, he's still always been a pretty solid journalist and knows how to deal with information for the most part. But if what he's operating on is true, I would say come nightfall, there may be kinetic action ahead of Trump's speech, and we may kind of know that things on the ground are happening, and then Trump makes the announcement. I can't imagine. It's not like we've got an element of surprise because they put one of the largest naval gatherings in our hemisphere off the coast of Venezuela. It's a massive buildup that has a point that's been announced to the world. We all know what the objective is. So maybe that will be the drama of the speech tonight, why they've hyped it up and put it in a specific time. So let's pretend for a minute. Y'all pretend with me. If the speech is not until 8 o'clock our time, then that's roughly 3 hours after nightfall. Nightfall is a huge advantage of the United States military because we can see everything in the dark and most of our opponents can't. So I would say if there's action, if that's where this is going tonight, Trump's giving it 2 or 3 hours for some success to happen because it would be lightning fast. Venezuela doesn't throw up much of a defense. And then he comes to the country to announce whatever. It may be that Maduro's already cut a deal and he's leaving and we're just going to secure everything and then watch for the handover. But, man, it could be dramatic tonight. So I hype all that up, not to hype it, but just to say I'm a little hyped because at first I was kind of blowing this thing off tonight. So it's just Trump celebrating himself tonight, which he should. I mean, he's having victory after victory. He just had another court victory today on the National Guard in D.C. But the speech is at 8 o'clock, and we're going to carry it live. So if you're out and about shopping, a lot of folks are out late this time of the year trying to get all the last-minute stuff done, trying to get your kids wrapped up from the school year, trying to get ready to point toward the holidays. So if you're out and about or just at home and you'd rather listen to it to the audio or whatnot, we will be carrying it live here on Talk 99.5. And by that I mean my good man in there, AJ, is going to stay around up here just to make sure that it works because somebody's got to be here in the building to turn it on and off. Wouldn't you think they'd come up with a remote way to do that by now? Like you could just log onto a computer and switch it out. And then I think we can kind of do that, right?
Don't give him no ideas, John Leland. Come on now.
I'm just saying. Technology, brother. But AJ's going to be up here tonight. I would offer to stay up here with him for moral support, but I don't have a whole lot of that left anymore. I'm tired. I'm going home.
Your moral done ran out. That's all good.
Actually, I have a dinner appointment. I got to go to a dinner tonight, and I know. I'd rather be watching this because things are going to be going down. We'll probably be wrapped up before 8 o'clock.
But let me ask you this. All right. And so what about when he was talking about all this peace that he was talking about? And it kind of does that feel like he's contradicting and we're getting into a whole new war now? Or if this is what it's possibly could be, how do you now flip that? Because now you're attacking a whole nother country now, if that's the case.
I agree. He would be launching a war, which he did not do in his first term. And one of his prideful things, of course, has been ending all these wars around the world. So on the surface of it, yes. But there's also the Reagan doctrine, and I lived through that, and it's just peace through strength. You use the United States military tactically and project power, and then you affect change without going to full-on war. I don't think we'd ever have a full-on war with Venezuela because they're not capable of putting up a fight. Be honest with you. We could blind them in an hour. They couldn't see a thing. Then we dominate the skies, and then Maduro runs for it. He's a gigantic coward and a bully, and the objective is to get him gone. My gut is the military buildup, the naval blockade, its use of the military without going to war. Does that make sense? Like, for example, Iran. We bombed Fordham, took out their whole nuclear program. The world got antsy, and I'll never forget it because I was traveling overseas, and it made me a little nervous because people were projecting, well, we're at war with Iran now. Iran didn't put up a fight. They just went, okay, my friend, we will see you in 10 years. We will rebuild it. Well, good for y'all. We'll bomb you again in 10 years. It changed the whole dynamic of the Middle East peace process. It took the biggest pariah in the region off the table with one military mission. One precision military mission that did not leak. We didn't hear a thing about it. They had absolute silence. That's on Pete Hegseth. For all the derision he gets from the left, this dude executed flawlessly. The only thing Lloyd Austin did was sneak off to the hospital and nobody knew about it. Pete Hegseth pulled those bombers together, got the battle plan, sent them across the world, took out this nuclear program we've been fighting about for decades, and everything stopped. There was no war. I feel like that's the overall strategy with Venezuela. Put the pressure on, do what you've got to do tactically, box them in, leave them no choice, and then you don't have to go to war. Why? Because nobody messes with you when you're strong. You don't mess with the big tough guy. And sometimes you've got to maintain that posture in the world, show you mean it, Say what you mean, back it up. You don't do this Barack Obama stuff where he drew red lines in Syria, wouldn't back them up, and that invited war. That weakness invited the meltdown in Syria that led to Benghazi, that led to all the other calamities over there. And in the case of Venezuela, this is our hemisphere. The old Monroe Doctrine says we defend our hemisphere. The rest of the world has to stay out of here. And Trump is doing that. Part of the drug war, and I got a Rob Reiner connection to this. Let's see if I can. Did I answer your question, AJ? I think philosophically you're right, but in the end, if they execute it right, there's no war. We're not going to war. By the way, we don't declare war anymore because Congress is supposed to do that. Congress never does it. Presidents just take these military actions. All right, so back to the situation with the drugs. The price of fentanyl is going up. That means supply is going down. The number of overdoses is dropping precipitously all over the country. This is being reported by law enforcement. That tells you that the mission is working. We've cut off the border. They're not bringing it across from Mexico anymore, so they've had to take to the seas, and now we're blowing up their boats. And now we're about to naval blockade one of the countries they're launching from. They're not going to send any boats out of there anymore. We've also cut Colombia off. They're losing their access to the sea, and we've intimidated their transportation network. Man, they're going to have to try to get it on the airplanes next. That's eventually going to save some people in this country from immediate addiction from trying these synthetic drugs. Now let's go back to Rob Reiner. Isn't it ironic? Go ahead, say it, AJ. I sound like Alanis Morissette. Isn't it ironic? Rob Reiner's son appears to have killed his parents. Most people that know about this, what was his name, Nick? Dude struggled in and out of rehab 17 times. His family was throws their hands up. They don't know what to do. And there's a very human side to that. I didn't like Rob Reiner's politics, but I grew up in a country where I didn't like a lot of people's politics, but you still could appreciate their work. I understand that they are our fellow humans. The left's incapable of doing that anymore, but we can. And what Trump said was nasty, but that's Trump. He also hasn't attacked me personally, so I can say all this stuff. But what he went through as a father and the parents, apparently all the way to the end, a fight they had at a party, they were at a Conan O'Brien party, had something to do with the addiction. It had spilled over into that party. Dad was embarrassed again. It wound up costing them their lives. Trying to save their son from addiction, it appears, wound up costing this couple their lives. Forget that he's a celebrity and he's meathead and all that. That's an American story right now. And here's the big ironic twist to me, and just this bell went off in my head last night as I was driving home. As vitriolic as Reiner was toward Trump, Trump's position toward Venezuela, the drug boats, the border, and all that, is that he is fighting on the same side that the Reiners were to save their son. Here now is a government and a president who says we're going to try to keep this poison out of families. It's not the only time this has happened. People in this audience have personal family stories of family members that have gone off the rails and either sent themselves into a ditch or tried to drag the whole family down with them, violently or financially or emotionally. This issue causes divorces and breakups and all kind of degradation of our quality of life in this country. And Trump is finally, out of all the presidents we've had, Democrat and Republican, over the years of this issue growing, is actually just doing something about it. It may be blunt and it may be bold and it may be aggressive, but it's working. So because of this president, even though Reiner lost his life to this issue, what Donald Trump is doing on the high seas and with this country, with Venezuela, whatever he announces tonight, is going to have, just mathematically, there'll be fewer Reiner family deaths like this in families all over the country that you'll never hear of because they're not celebrities. You'll never know about it. They'll just be written off as some domestic incident and another stat on a murder sheet in a city somewhere. But somebody's got to step in and try to stop this madness in our country. It is a false notion that the war on drugs is completely failing. It is the way we've done it. but you've got to do your best to keep this off our streets. It's being sent in here to wreck our country. The Chinese are behind it as well. They're sending the precursors into countries that are profiting. They're all making money, propping up a lot of other insidious stuff, and they're poisoning a generation of people in this country, all over the country. Some of these drugs used to affect certain cultural dynamics. Crack, powder cocaine was expensive. It was a rich people party drug. That became another cheaper version called crack cocaine. That wound up hitting the black community hard. Crystal meth gets invented. That winds up hitting Appalachia and sort of the hillbilly region of the country really hard. And it's the dynamic of, they live in areas where they can make this stuff up in the hills with the right recipe. It actually extends from the moonshine culture, believe it or not. But then this fentanyl comes along, and it's nationwide. It's filling a gap between the cultures, and it's hitting people in our cities. It's hitting people in San Francisco just like it's hitting people in Birmingham, and somebody's got to do something. Yet because of their derangement syndrome, these Democrats in Congress, they literally have a bill today to try to force the United States military to stand down in its battles with these drug cartels. I'm convinced drug cartel money has made it into our political system, 100%. They've got access to our politicians and control of some of them. So, I don't know, maybe I'm talking around the world, but I think it makes sense. It's an ironic tragedy that we're looking at this celebrity death, and everybody gets caught up in the comments of how nasty Trump was and how horrible it was what happened to the Reiners. But in reality, if Trump had been president 10 years before this kid became addicted and these measures had been put in place, the whole Reiner family would still be alive and their kid wouldn't be facing a death penalty. Possibly. Statistically. How about them apples? All right, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. We got a lot to do tonight. 545-9950 if you want to get on the show. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. All right, y'all, 225 Leland Live. Here we go. Burton Campers bringing you the show tonight. Man, 50 years in business, that says a lot. It really does. I mean, there have been so many ups and downs in our economy over 50 years and different businesses and whole industries that have changed. I'll tell you what, RVing has gotten better and better. The units are better laid out, better appointed with technology, towing them, all the equipment and the new innovations and getting up and down the road with your RV have just gotten better and better. And there's so many new parks that have been developed as the industry started to boom, especially during COVID, people started investing in these beautiful RV parks that are like little resorts. It's not like your papa was camping where it was out in the woods in a little gravel patch where you plug up. And I still love those. I love the quaint little out of the way, very rustic parks. But there's some that are just, man, you got concrete pads and little rec facilities and lazy rivers, and I've seen everything. Some have little putting greens and golf courses and places to play games with your family and gathering spots. And one place we went to has their own personal restaurant and bar on site. It's pretty amazing. All over in the mountains, at the beach, all year long. Burton Campers can get you hooked up and outfitted. If you want to surprise the family and blow their minds, look, I'm just going to tell you, they've got financing. You've got, about 7 days to get down there, pick your unit, get it financed, announce it to the family. Get somebody to help you put a gigantic big old red bow on it and park it in the driveway. Tell them Santa brought it to you. I bet they'd do a Santa run. Do you think Jody and them would do that?
Of course.
They'd tow it and stick it in place for you so you could surprise everybody. You never know. Go ask them. BurtonCampers.com. 2 locations in their 50th year. One down in Calera on exit 231, and then one, of course, in Jasper, the new location that they opened this year to celebrate 50 years, up there by the hospital. Y'all go see them and make somebody's dreams come true. Make memories, man. That's my favorite part about it. We always remember those trips. BurtonCampers.com, BurtonCampers.com. One more time about the Brown shooting, and we spent a lot of time on that yesterday, and it seems as if it's still going to get a lot of our attention today because it's partly because the mystery of what happened and who is anytime there's a person on the loose in a manhunt, that's always going to get attention, but it's the sketchy way they're behaving at Brown University. Now, let's back up and look at some of the failures. And this is why I'm very suspicious. I think their own politics, well ahead of the shooting, were what were part of the storytelling here. For example, their chief of security, they've got their own campus police force, as a lot of colleges do, was a guy hired to emphasize diversity on the campus. He is incompetent. He was hired for the DEI standard, and he is utterly incompetent. 2 different unions up there have already given a vote of no confidence. And now you have a system that did not work. The sirens didn't go off till 17 minutes after the shooting stopped. The police response was slow, even though they're bragging that it wasn't. The campus police, they've done a lot of tactically stupid things. For example, sending all the witnesses home, canceling finals, and sending everybody home. There goes half your witnesses. They got to go track. They're having to go all over the country to track down people that were there because they were all sent home. And then we have this. We don't know if this is going to play into a final measure or not, but 34 human rights groups just a few weeks ago sent a letter. They all signed on to a letter demanding that Brown turn off their surveillance cameras on the campus. Well, now, why would they do that? Because they say that Trump and the federal government could use them to surveil for illegal immigrants in the ICE crackdown. That they were protecting human rights and their First Amendment rights to travel about campus privately, so they're not rounded up, and they should turn off the cameras. Here's the question. Did Brown turn off the cameras? How is it that they could have 12 cameras on a campus? Here's a bastion of liberal stupidity run by liberal incompetence, so dedicated to image and emotion that they left out public safety. And it is not going to surprise me that they complied with this request and turned the damn cameras off. Because most of the videos that we've seen so far are coming from Ring cameras and dash cameras in cars. They're coming from the community around Providence. That's why we don't see a lot of stuff on campus. Why weren't the cameras working? Why didn't the system work? These people are fools, and they're covering their butts. All right, y'all, let's talk about Huey Tampon. I'm telling you, with all this violence in the news, it causes some people their knee-jerk instinct is, we got to ban some guns. My instinct is we need more guns. I mean, we really do. We have to defend ourselves. I mean, Providence and Australia alone are two stories in the headlines just from this weekend that show you the government cannot protect you when bad guys show up. They can't do it. In Australia, they ultimately failed. They confiscated those people's weapons in the 1990s and said, hey, don't worry about it. The cops will protect you. And then we watched them stand there and do nothing while those people were just on the beach, easy targets. In fact, those idiots in Australia they do have some gun licensing in their country. One of the shooters was on a terror watch list or was investigated for connections with ISIS just about 7 years ago, and they gave him a gun license anyway, which he used to collect enough weapons to get his boy and go shoot people. That version of the reality of gun ownership is just 1 or 2 congressional votes away in this country, and you need to do everything you can to protect yourself. Even the police in our communities will tell you they can't get there fast enough. A lot of our cops are overwhelmed. So here's my advice. Get a gun and train with it. Keep it with you. Conceal, lock it up, protect it, but have it close by. It does you no good if you don't have it close by. So decide what works for you. The place I'd go to start, if you've never owned, or maybe you're an owner and you need different ones for different tactical reasons, go over to Hueytown Pawn and get to know Tommy and Adam and those guys. You've got a full gunsmith there and a huge gun counter. It's a pawn shop that sort of evolved over time into an outstanding gun store. And they're running specials this holiday season. I've been telling you about some of the hunting rifles. They got these Ruger American Gen 2s on sale. Every caliber in the Ruger American is $539. There you go. Boom. Hunting rifles. Over on the tactical side, they're also running the Radical ARs, both the pistols and the rifles. This is a brand that's connected with Hueytown Pawn. All metal construction, super well built. I've held these things. Haven't gone out and fired them. But I'm telling you, you can feel quality, and these are amazing setups, both the AR-15 pistols and the long rifles at $389 a piece. Boom. Look, it does no good to do just get one and act like you're protected. You need to train. You need to go through some training about decision-making and what the laws are, what your rights are, what you need to be doing in an emergency situation. But the world's not getting any safer. We all have a First Amendment and a Second Amendment in this Constitution for a reason. So exercise those rights responsibly. And to get started, go over to Hueytown Pawn. By the way, huge selection of sound suppression. For those of you who want that for your hunting rig or for whatever reason, they've got a whole vault full of those, vector scopes, everything. It's just a store full of good bargains and great deals. And because they're a gun dealer, a pawn shop as well, they have a pawn license. They've got a nice pre-owned selection too. We really save some money if you're thinking about buying pre-owned. Hueytown Pawn over in Hueytown. Good place to put a place called Hueytown Pawn. You think they came up with the name of the business and then said, let's move it to Hueytown. They're right there on Brook Lane Drive, Hueytown Pawn. Y'all go see them. All right, let's see. Let me keep scrolling through some of the items that we have here today. I feel like I'm going to run out of time before we get to the top of the hour news conference. So we went through the Venezuelan analysis is all over the place, and we've got these groups out there that are monitoring flights and their sorties going back and forth all over the place. But we don't see any kinetic action yet. My gut is, like I said at the beginning of the show, if Trump's going to make that announcement tonight, it'll be after some stuff has already started on the ground. That would be a proper way to do it. But we don't know that for sure just yet. Just a whole lot of speculation between now and 8 o'clock. Well, let's go local real quick. We got a local story of Alabama politics today. It was a little bit of a surprise news, I guess, that A.J. McCarron, the former Alabama quarterback, and I guess he bounced around in the pros for a minute, has decided to drop out of the lieutenant governor's race to become the new head coach of the Birmingham Stallions. The Birmingham Stallions coach just suddenly walked away. I don't even know when the season starts. And now they're going to have A.J. McCarron as a head coach. I don't know if he's ever coached. probably a good fit because he's got some name ID. I would dare say this, and it's not a swipe at McCarron. He'd be better off doing that than trying to run for lieutenant governor. I mean, lieutenant governor is not a hard race to win. Well, it is in that people aren't paying attention to the race. So sometimes it's hard to raise money and it's hard to get attention. And he's already got name ID, so that gave him a leg up. But I'm not sure he could have withstood a real debate test or anything like that out on the campaign trail. But he was cashing in on his celebrity, as some are wont to do nowadays in politics, particularly Alabama politics. But he's moved on to something that's probably very much more fitting to him. So that thins out the race. Look, the field is not set in any of the races coming up next year. Let's just stay on this for a minute. You had the Feinbaum story where Feinbaum's now he's got another excuse for why Feinbaum's saying he didn't run because he couldn't bash Disney. Have you seen this? That some experts came to him and said, you got to go hard after the woke people at ESPN. And he's like, well, I just can't do that. Those are my people. They gave me an opportunity. And that's true. They did. They gave him an opportunity to be on network television. But that varies from the original story that he told. Remember when he first wanted to get in, he said Charlie Kirk's murder stirred his soul. And he decided he needed to become involved. He didn't want to be on the sidelines anymore. And I was like, okay, Paul, I get that. I feel you, man. That was motivational for some people. That was awful, a public assassination of a thought leader. But now he's telling people that he started getting phone calls from people that are out recruiting candidates. They failed to get Bruce Pearl. And so when they whiffed on Bruce Pearl, they came after Paul. And he literally had some people, I think he said, showed up at his house to convince him he could do it, showing him poll numbers. And he's saying that it's mysterious, but for some reason he said, yeah, I'll look at it. And he doesn't understand why he ever did that. And, in his vetting process, he decided against it. Again, I think another wise move. I think there's no way in the world he passes with all those years on the radio and some of the positions he's taken, any kind of smell test for conservatives in the state. I think he was aware of that. And that's just assessing it, right? But there are two different stories there. Either you were fired up because of a public assassination or you were getting your ego stroked by being recruited. And it sounded more in politics campaign. Together. Money to a lot of money can make a lot of money. But there's one thing all of these consultants need to have every single election cycle. Every 2 years, you've got a different gig. You move from candidate to candidate. Even if your candidate wins and he keeps you on as his consultant, he doesn't really need you during the middle part of his tenure. But in the end, when he's ready to run again, he may pull you back in, or she, right? So it's a business, and you got to constantly keep feeding yourself clients. So they go out and recruit their own clients. And I've seen this so many times. They'll recruit someone, appeal to their ego, convince them they've got data. And they'll whip out a spreadsheet or put up a PowerPoint. Do people still use PowerPoint? And show them how it's possible. Show them what their advantages are. And that fluffs egos like you've never seen. And then once they get the candidate on the hook and line them up with a fundraiser, their whole crew makes money. The candidate's on the hook to raise the money. They hire professional fundraisers to get out and start getting up a call list so they can start dialing for dollars, is what they call it, getting people to contribute. It's a grueling process. Some are good at it, some aren't. But a lot of that money turns around and goes to the people that talked you into running on retainers and other fees and other overhead that's part of it. Even the fundraisers themselves make a percentage of what they raise. So they help organize the money part, and then they hire all their buddies. They got a buddy that's a pollster. Guess who they're going to recommend to the candidate? Their buddy. They got a buddy that does communications. Guess who they're going to does media and does media ads and radio and TV ads. And guess who they're going to bring to the table? Oh, and they got a friend that also happens to do opposition research. Guess who's going to get that gig? So you're the general consultant. You hook up all your other buddies. They hook you up with other candidates. And I'm not saying they don't want to win, but the truth is in that business, they don't give a damn if they win or not. As long as they get paid through the cycle, all those fees that they charge every candidate, nobody ever checks their track record. And if they lose, and then they go farm another candidate. Some are good, some win a lot, but if you think about it, every single election, especially in a general election, let's all do the math on it, exactly half of these consultants lose. Every election, half of the geniuses on both sides that are managing these candidates and giving them ideas and advice and putting words in their mouth, half of them lose every single time. But what do? Get up and go back to work and find another candidate to run so they can keep getting paid. And it's legal. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just how it works. I'm just telling you, that's a business. That's how they see it. And I believe that's what Paul got hit with. Paul Feinbaum got hit with a bunch of consultants that wanted a celebrity candidate that could help them raise money so they could get paid. And maybe he was wise in smoking it out, knowing what kind of cauldron he was going to step into. So be careful. If somebody starts calling you to try to get you to run and fluffing your ego, I mean, it happens the other way, too. You got somebody that gets fired up. They're watching TV at night. Somebody says something, and they tell themselves, I'm going to run. They see themselves on the mountaintop, winning and affecting change, taking our great nation to higher heights. It's never happened in my lifetime, but they all envision themselves as being able to do that. And then they have to go find these consultants. They have to go track them down. And then the hookup model works the exact same way. I mean, they all do the same things. It's networking. It's incredible amounts of money. Early on in my career, and I had a distaste for it. I couldn't do it anymore. One of the guys I talked to early on in that, I remember he was giving some sage advice to us young guys that were into it or getting into it early in our careers. This guy was doling. I can't tell you 2 or 3 of the other tips he told us about handling campaign drama. One, it would take too long, and the other, it's a little bit crass. But one of the things he said, this is the one business where you can get your head handed to you and drive off in your Mercedes to the next gig. I've never forgot him saying that. You know what? And I've watched people do that over the years. Whoever that is out there fishing in our Senate race, trying to get somebody into the race that's not in the race right now, whoever this group of people is, are just trying to latch themselves onto a ticket to get through this cycle and make some money on this race. They may be Alabama-based. They may not. But they'll find a candidate. Here's what that tells me. They'll find another candidate, and they seem to have a business model is to get somebody that's already well-known, a celebrity maybe from the sports world, disconnected to current politics, and recruit them as a candidate. I went through that whole speech to tell you, look out because they're going to get somebody else involved before the qualifying deadline. I don't know who it'll be. Some of the other big names have already turned down running for office. But I don't think the field in this Senate race is completely set as long as those people are active and trying to make this stuff happen. All right, y'all, 545-9950. We'll throw a few calls on maybe in the next segment, and then we got to get up to the top of the hour if they start this news conference in Providence, Rhode Island. We'll, of course, have that for you, too. Alabama Gold Refinery's over there. If you guys decide you're ready to get involved in the gold game, you know, this Christmas, and I always tell the story around Christmas time. I had a grandfather call me and say, you know, he was just talking about his trading over at AGR, and he said, you know what, one thing I like to do, and I just love the idea, he goes and buys silver coins. Silver coins are still affordable, even though they've more than doubled in value here in the last couple of years. So they hold value, and every now and then Steve will run specials, and he'll get some novelty Trump coins in or something like that, but they're still silver. So you're still collecting silver in a fun way. But these coins are tangible. A kid can hold them. He buys them for his grandkids every Christmas. Man, I don't think it's the only thing he buys, but if you think about that, they start to build a little collection. They can track the silver markets every day and see what it's worth. It's something they can look at and hold and understand. And it starts to teach the little ones about money and investing, saving some of your stuff. Those are really good lessons in an irresponsible world full of a lot of financial illiteracy. It's good to start teaching your kids young about all that, about how taxes take a bite out of your hide and how saving some of your own money is a good idea. You can do that with something tangible over at Alabama Gold Refinery. And then maybe some of y'all have got some really, really expensive grandkids and you want to get them gold. Get them gold. Gold's really hitting records these days. But silver's a way to go, and other metals too. They've got all that at AGR. They'll buy it from you. They'll sell it to you. They'll trade with you. Steve's a great guy, and he's got a great operation over there across from the Regions Bank in Homewood on 29th AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. Y'all, Ox Foundation Solutions is 100% my company to come do anything at your house involving your foundation. It just is. And it's so many things that can go wrong, from huge slips. And some of you dealt with this, and it's a total nightmare where your house is sinking or sliding. And you got to get on that as quickly as you can. Sometimes it's just a portion of your house. Their helical pier system is just unsurpassed, and they're such pros at handling those big tasks. And then it's little things. You've got a crack or a shift or a leak, water coming in that just needs a removal system. They'll handle that. Encapsulation is something that people even do this time of the year, and I was just talking about it so much the last couple of weeks because I never thought about it this way. I always thought about encapsulation underneath a crawl space as a moisture protection issue during the humid months of the summer, but it's also a thermal barrier during the cold months. Keeps that cold air out from under your house, away from the pipes, away from your upper floors. Then your heating and air system's not fighting with underneath your house to keep your house toasty. Look into it, and everybody's crawl space should be encapsulated anyway. It's just one more advantage and even a cost-saving reason to get that done with oxstrong.com. Oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. All right, here's my buddy Joe in Coleman checking in with us tonight. Joe, what's up, buddy?
Hey, on the Senate race, I think with Paul, it was I don't know. I wish. I don't know if that's the reasoning for it. I mean, I wish he would just kind of give the reasoning for it and just come out clean. I think what it boiled down to, and I listened to his show a little bit more here and there after, he was debating whether on running, because I kind of wanted to see the vibe. And from the audience, they would kind of, throw out things like hey, when you run for Senate and you're no longer here, and, things like that. And I think it boiled down to there was a particular day or two there where I'd listen to it off and on, and there were calls that would come in, and you know this, you've been in this business long enough. Paul makes more of a difference doing what he does, and you doing what you do, than you ever can in the body of a Senate. You just do. I mean, you get those calls that come in about, hey, my dad was fighting cancer, and, we fought it for years in the hospital, and we listened to your show every day. And it, you know what I mean? And it was something that's so impactful, and people are breaking down crying because, they have that connection with their dad or their mom, you know what I mean, listening to the Feinbaum show every afternoon. And it was something that got them through a tough time where they were having to deal with some kind of cancer treatment, or, and that type of connection you can't do running for Senate. And I hate to say it. I want Jared Hudson to be in this race, and I want him to win. But Jared Hudson needs to know if he's going in there to try to make a difference. I hope he does. But if he needs to come to the realization that it's going to be really tough for him to be able to do that.
Well, I think all of them have to convince themselves if they got a sense of purpose. And my friendship with Jared knows he is a purpose-driven guy. But
absolutely,
what I hate is
I don't want it to crush his spirit.
I don't either. He's all about crushing evil. But I'll tell you, for him and others that I've worked with and been around over the years, I've seen it sort of eat their souls. Either they get compromised to play ball so that they can be effective, and then they sort of regret it. And I've even had friends go to prison in that business for getting caught up in the wrong things. And then I've got people that just get the life sucked out of them and they move on to something else. You got others that thrive.
That's what Tuberville did, I think.
It happens in a lot of different ways, and it depends on the personality type. I don't mean to poo-poo it, but in the legislative arena, no individual can make a difference. That's just math.
Right.
You can't go in there on your own and do anything by yourself. So you've got to have a kind of personality where you can draw people to jump on the right cause. And then it just becomes keep your job, keep your head down, and do a bunch of TikTok videos and get attention for yourself. And that's largely what happens over in the House. But you want that vote to go right, and you want the kind of person that's not going to let you down and go squirrely. Like today, we had 4 Republicans vote with the Democrats to pull a floor vote for extending Obamacare subsidies. Now, that's a betrayal, but these guys are cowards. They're from districts that could be vulnerable next year, and they're afraid of controversy, so they voted against their party. Well, that's where the character issue comes in. You want somebody that's going to stick to their guns and say what they say, because their votes largely will wind up being the same no matter who we send to Washington. They're pretty much all going to vote the same way, right? Unless they're squirrely, and then that can happen.
Well, and that's what if it really was coming down to where he was going to make the biggest difference, I think doing what y'all do, y'all make a bigger difference and have a bigger influence than you ever could just being one person in that body, Leland. I mean, you know as well as you've got the airwaves for 4 hours a day, every 5 days a week, and those type of things. And there's a bigger impact that can be made doing that, and having these people on every once in a while and calling them out on their crap.
I guess if you look at it that way, really I think Paul could see it that way. But he's in a sports world, which it seems to me, based on his comments, that it's a little bit of a grind for him now. His heart's in a different place on the affairs of our day, right? Which is what I get to talk about, and I stay out of sports because that's over my head. Some days you feel impactful, Joe, and some days you feel like a dancing monkey, like on a sidewalk and people are just throwing tips in a hat. I mean, some days you feel like you're just entertaining, and some days you really feel like you're saying something that might impact people.
I don't see him being with that. I don't see him being with that company for a very long time.
Maybe not.
I just don't. I think if he goes and does something else, he's going to go out on his own. And all the more power to him.
Yep, could
and
be.
that way he doesn't have to be tied down. You know what I mean?
Yep. I actually see
anyway,
a lot of. Thanks, Joe. I see a lot of what he's saying. I mean, I think there's some little bit of inconsistency. That's because it was a weird thing for him, but I think he's where he needs to be, like Joe was saying. And it's why, I mean, nobody ever called here, and you couldn't. There's no gun you could put to my head to make me want to run for something. I don't want the job. It's not why I do this. Because it's a whole lot easier to throw rocks at people that do. All right, here we go. Leland Live in Providence, Rhode Island. We may have some new information revealed. They have put a new enhanced video out of the second person they want to talk to that came into contact with the first person they've been looking for. And it's kind of weird. It's hard to draw any conclusions. Again, wintertime, people are mostly covered. The only thing I can describe them, put it this way, it looks like a dude. I think it's a dude because I see a stash. And I'm just saying, I don't think they've ever had any bacon. Let me just describe them that way. I don't think they're a big pork consumer. Let's see what they have to say. Here's some pointy-headed guy who's probably going to lie to us at the news conference right now, live in Providence.
The Providence community and with the governor's help, really in the broader Providence community, we have tightened security and we have neighbors looking out for one another, and we will get through this. I know our city, and we are a resilient community, and we are a city that will support one another as we move forward in this scary time. Just because you're feeling unsafe doesn't mean that that's invalid. We know that that's real, but we are doing everything we can to both advance this investigation, but also to provide the support necessary as we move forward and take the first steps together that we need to as a city to start to recognize that kids need to go to school and people need to go to work, and we appreciate the courage and sometimes even tentative steps forward that we're taking as we start to move forward as a community. At this time, I'd like to introduce Colonel Oscar Perez, who will give an update on the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. We can please show the photo that we released earlier today.
All right, once again, I think they're going to show some photographs. They're not a whole lot of audio. Maybe they'll talk over it. They just stepped aside from the microphones to drop down a screen, turn off the lights in the room, and show the reporters some pictures. It's this this no bacon guy in the hoodie that they've also released today.
We truly believe, based on the video footage that we have been watching for a few days, that may have relevant information to the investigation. So we're asking the public that you can help us identify who this individual is, as well as the individual themselves sees their picture, to please contact the police department. As far as one thing that I want to mention, I want to urge you, the public, not to rely on or circulate AI-generated images that are currently being shared on social media, as they're not verified or credible. As well, the updates and information that you're getting will be provided exclusively through this department's official channels. I want to make sure that we make that happen, and please notify the public to make sure that that occurs. I would also like to clarify and show a map. Please, if you can play the map. So the map here that you see is actually a map of the area that we have been intensively walking on those streets, canvassing the area. So as you see the blue image, yesterday I mentioned that we need the public's assistance to check their camera assistance or any sort of video that you may have that could be helpful to us.
So just to describe to the audience, they've basically just drawn a big blue square over the south tip, or sort of the central pointy part of Providence. Looks like probably 30, 40 blocks involved in that. It sort of narrows things down, but this is the area where they think the person or persons were spotted that day. Back to the news conference.
That's the immediate area where he left after the shooting. And so this is the map that actually we have so far. We walked it all. We're still actively investigating, and we're still actively having agents, Providence police officers, members of the state police. There's about 9 federal agencies that are assisting us with this investigation, adding the state police as well as the Providence police and other municipalities. Again, I would like to reiterate, if you have any tips, please call the 272-3121 or the FBI link at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. Thank you.
Attorney General Peter Neronha for an update. Okay. Thank you, General. additional update from me, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. First, I want to just take a moment to recognize and honor the memory of Ella Cook and Muhammad Aziz Umerzakov, who are the two deceased victims from this tragedy, and update you on the status of the survivors. Yesterday, we mentioned that one individual had been discharged. I'm happy to report that another individual has been discharged today. That leaves one survivor in critical but stable condition and 5 in stable conditions. The parents that I spoke with today all reported that their kids were improving. So this is a happy announcement, but I know the entire Providence community, the entire state of Rhode Island, the governor and I were together at a memorial service last night, mourn the loss and offer our most sincere condolences to the Cook and Umerzakov families. Following up on a note that the Colonel made with respect to AI-generated images and other misinformation, we have created an online folder with all of the video and images that have been released. And we encourage both members of the press, but also members of the community. We know lots of people are sharing information, and we appreciate that. We think that will help with this investigation. But we encourage them to download and share the videos and photos from the website that has been created so that you can ensure that you're sharing an accurate and verified photo and video. That website is now live. It is providenceri.gov/tips, TIPS. providenceri.gov/tips is an online file folder that has the videos and photos that have been released to date, and it will be updated as we progress. There's been lots of conversation up here about the heroic work of the hundreds of law enforcement professionals who remain hard at work 24 hours a day and who are, in fact, making progress. I want to close with one additional thank you tonight. All of those tip line calls are coming into the city's telecommunications department, the same folks who answer the 911 calls, and they too have been working tirelessly, and I want to thank the men and women at dispatch and at telecommunications for their diligence. Everyone in the city of Providence truly has a role to play in this investigation, and we're grateful for their assistance. We'll take your questions. John.
Colonel, I have a question for Colonel regarding the map. As he's walking around, I want to establish actually, what's the earliest that this person of interest emerges? I believe you had said Saturday morning at 10:30, but then someone else said maybe a couple days earlier. And I recognize that it fluctuates and this is evolving. But as of right now, what's the earliest that this individual, to your knowledge, shows up on camera?
About 10:30 a.m. on the date of this tragic incident. However, so like anything else, I also mentioned yesterday that they do case the areas, they do a lot of prior checking for their crime, and so we truly believe that it could be that possibly it was there prior as well. And so we want to make sure that we don't miss anything, and so that's why we're asking the public to help us to ensure within that map area that I mentioned with the borders between Wickenden, Brook, all those areas, Gano, that if you have a camera system to reach out to us.
I was in along I Street, Gano today. Tremendous number of federal officials literally going door to door. Would you say this? How would you describe? I mean, it just seems that this is probably right now the most massive, intensive manhunt going on in the world.
I think I agree with you on that, John, and definitely commend the men and women, obviously, and all our federal partners. It's a lot of work, and it's intense, as you stated. It takes a lot to be able to knock on doors, see videos. There's terabytes of videos that you have to look, and I mentioned it yesterday. We're looking for a moment that takes almost less than a second, and if you miss it, you're missing something that could be critical and important for us to use. And so, yes, it's definitely an intense, and I believe that is probably the most intense investigation going on right now in this nation.
Colonel, the second person that you want to talk to, can you drill down at all on any interactions that you believe you may have had with the main person of interest? Do you believe he talked to him? How close was he to him? Any interactions? What can you tell me?
So yeah, we have video footage of that determines to us and the detectives that can tell that this person was in the vicinity where the subject of interest was that we wanted that we actually have an interest on. Close enough that we feel that we need to speak with them to find out what because videos don't speak. If you think about it, I wish the video could speak, and then I'll have the answers that we need to, so that we can continue on this investigation. So we're trying to find out exactly what it is, and that's why we need to speak with them.
Please.
Does this person, this new individual, have anything to do with why the person of interest was seen running in the surveillance footage?
Again, I wish the videos could speak. We're trying to get those answers.
And have you found any items of interest during your search, specifically clothing?
Nothing as we speak, no.
Up front here.
Who among law enforcement or other first responders was first on the scene that day, and who came next?
So Brown University was on scene, and then immediately the Providence Police Department within minutes was there.
Back there, the green jacket.
We released a video from 216 on the day of the shooting, where we see the person of interest come into contact or near another person. Is that the moment that you think this new person and the person of interest might have come close?
That's correct. It's around the area of Benevolent and Cook.
So behind the Rhode Island Historical Society, that corner of Georgia?
Right near that area, correct.
And you had some searches going on in North Attleboro today. Is that connected at all to this case?
I can't confirm. We're all over the place. If a tip comes in and he needs us to go down to Connecticut, we're going down to Connecticut. If a tip comes in and tells us that we got to go to Boston, we're going to Boston.
Right there in the middle of the green jacket. Go ahead.
Is it possible that the second person could become a person of interest?
All we know is that that person was in the vicinity of the subject that we have an interest on, and we want to speak with them.
Missing.
En
Great.
español, si nos puede contar esta persona, una persona que busca identificar esa interacción, en qué área sucedió y qué quiere de la comunidad.
Yeah, so pretty much the question is just if we can explain in Spanish exactly why we're looking for this individual, why do we want to speak with them. So esta persona verdaderamente es alguien que nosotros tenemos un interés de hablar con ellos porque estaba en la área inmediata donde este individuo estaba. Entonces queremos saber más.
All right, we're continuing to monitor a press conference out of Providence.
So they're having to break into the news conference because the dude decided he is from like Colombia. Spanish is his first language, and I know. What the hell? This is America. We're speaking English here, son. If you don't, Trump's going to come put you on a plane. It's a new country now. The hell out. It drives me crazy, man. You got millions of people wanting to know what happens, and then they break off into Spanish. This ain't Telemundo. This crime did not happen in Colombia. It's in Rhode Island. Does he speak Japanese? Does he speak Farsi? Does he speak Swahili? No. He goes into Spanish. Why? Because he's more comfortable because the dude just got here. That's why he can't hold. They have to fill in and keep correcting his ass because he doesn't even speak English. But he's in charge of the safety of those people in that city. How many guns do you think they've sold in Providence, Rhode Island for tonight? Are they back to this news conference now, or are they stepping on them? Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll keep monitoring it. It's still going on. Fox decides sometimes we'll pull feed and everybody's getting the same feed, and they'll just step all over it and whatever. Danny Knowles is with the Knowles Group. I was looking at the market close today, down on the Dow, a couple hundred points. It's been up and down toward the end of the year. There have been some good jobs numbers coming out. Look, Danny's not going to look at today's numbers to try to tell you what you should buy today and sell tomorrow. They're going to look at long-term trends, and that's what gets you to where you need to get. If you look at a 10-year trend on the market, it is steadily up. You see some peaks and valleys, but the trend line goes up, and that's the way the market has performed. But you got to know what you're doing to have your assets on that trend line. And that's what his folks are so good at. Danny and I have known each other since we were little kids. 10 years old is when I moved to our hometown, and we've been friends ever since. And I can just tell you, he's a good guy. He treats people right. He's going to treat you with respect, treat your money with respect, and help you get to where you want to get. So maybe one day your money can work for you. That's what he does all the time. Y'all listen to their show, too, on the weekends. It's the KnowlesGroup.com, N-O-L-E-S, the KnowlesGroup.com. Quick break. We'll go to the we'll come back. Well, I'll keep listening to this, and we'll see what else happens. Lead on Live Talk 99.5. All right, 324 leading live to Ignite M5. Let's go. Lonnie's Furniture Company ready to hook you up for the holidays if you want a big old honking heavy present. How about some Lazy Boys? How about a pair of Lazy Boys? What a nice gift. Man, as we drive ourselves inside with the wintertime weather and all the movie watching and the sports watching and all that stuff, you can really check out that room and be comfortable. Man, I'm at an age where comfort is a bigger deal to me than style or anything else. I'm finally there. I like being comfortable, especially in my downtime. And a Lazy Boy, you just can't beat the quality of the construction. It is a name that is synonymous with recliners. In fact, we didn't even call recliners when I grew up. We called them all Lazy Boys. It's like Band-Aids or Xerox. You know, the brand is so definitive of what it is. And they've got them for you at Lonnie's Furniture Company. Outdoor furniture as well. It is a wonderful place to shop because everything's right there. Such selection, an acre of furniture under one roof, and just really, really a fine quality place with some of the best people you will ever work with in the furniture business. They're kind, they're intelligent, they know everything about the industry, the latest styles and all that goes with it, and they'll help you out. Lonnie's Furniture Company off exit 280 on the I-65, Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com. All right, let's squeeze a couple of calls in. The news conference is still ongoing, but the networks have pulled away from it, and we're not going to sit here and just throw the whole show off because we still got the Trump stuff tonight. Tom is in Calera. What's up, Tom?
Hi, guys. I was watching all these here, Congress people telling all the military people that they didn't have to follow any illegal order, which we all learned that in basic training. And I'm sure that they're held to the same standard I was when you go into Congress. And for every one of them lying SOBs in Biden's cabinet that said that the border was secure, and they've been acquitted with the now defunct auto pen, I think they all should be held accountable and incarcerated for sitting there lying to our face that the border was secure, and we're sitting here watching these people just run across that border.
Well, it's one thing to give that as an opinion, but when you're responsible for it, like Mayorkas was, he's the one with he's got the liability in that particular situation for sure.
Also, Kamala, the word salad, border czar. Why we use the word czar? Isn't it Russian?
Well, we started that in the 80s, right before the fall of the. I remember when we started that, I thought it was stupid. The first czar we had was a drug czar. Remember, we had a drug czar because we were going to fight the war on drugs, and then now we add the word czar to every made-up title, and we also add the word gate to any kind of scandal, like AJ Gate.
Yeah, Gate, Watergate.
Yeah,
that's so
Cocaine Gate.
Childish.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyway, there's one thing I want to say about them lazy boys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, me and my brother rode up, and Daddy said, "You lazy boys better get your butt out there."
Different lazy boy.
He wasn't talking about no recliner.
Mm-mm.
I'm just saying.
Thank you, Tom. There's Tom tonight with his routine. Thank you, Tom. Here's Linda on a cell phone. What's up, Linda?
Hey there.
Hey.
I'm just calling to ask you to give a translation of what we just listened to. I mean, that was insane.
Yeah, they're stalling and because they've muffed this case, and I do think they want to catch their guy or gals. I mean, there's some stuff out today that looks very ambiguous. I don't know who they're looking at, but if they've got two people working together in this thing, it's a whole nother story. And now they're throwing out. Here's the problem I have with them, Linda. They'll tell the public they want the public's help, and then the public starts to help them to identify people. And then they said the public's crazy. Don't believe the internet. We've got this under control. Do you need our help or not? And they're giving us nothing to go on.
Right. I'm in agreement.
Yep.
I'm in total agreement that it. I think I just had a panic attack when I was listening to it, going, Jesus.
Oh, well, the police chief's got to bust off some Spanish every now and then, and he's not even doing like Jeb Bush used to do it just to show off. It's his comfort zone. So he's like, San Pedro Sula. I'm like, dude, thank you, Linda. And look, what did he yell when he shot the classroom up? The witnesses heard it. They're not letting the witnesses talk to the media. An edict went out to the whole university today. Tell them not to talk to anybody. Don't do any interviews. They're trying to get message containment. You're doing that when you're covering your ass, period. I know this because I've been in situations where I've advised people to do that to cover their ass. It's true. And I'm over here like Dr. Evil. I'm like, could you throw me a freaking bone? Remember that line from the movie?
Laser.
I mean, just give us, is it man or is it woman? What about this second thing? What he was vague about it, but they can't. This person crisscrossed the path of another person they want to talk to, and either that person's got info because of the crossing of the two paths, or these two have got a whole lot in common. Like they planned it or were working together that day. And if the dude that the internet was going crazy on last night, if he's not connected, clear his name. They won't really do that. They're just saying, well, the internet's crazy. They're full of disinformation and don't believe everything you read. Really? 3:30. They're still talking. We'll let you know if they say anything else in a minute. Hang on. All right, y'all. Southern Skies Dermatology bringing you the show tonight. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. Go get checked for skin cancer. This is all they do there. I mean, there's so many ways. I've learned a lot with my son, who's a medical doctor, that there are a lot of different ways to make money or to make a living in certain practices. Dermatology can be very, very lucrative. There's so many things involving dermatology. But years ago, they set up Southern Skies just to focus on skin cancer, not all the other cosmetic stuff or the other things that are necessary in that field. When that makes them specialists, they've invested in the Mohs procedure equipment, so that's the way they do removals, and that's the only way you should ever get a removal done is with Mohs. And Dr. Mario is a Mohs expert. They've got great locations all throughout our area to see you, and they will take care of you. Look, put this on your list. I know the holidays are busy, but as we try to do better, we all do it. In the new year, eat right, act right, take more steps, whatever we're doing, do your checkups, do your health checkups, dental, vision, all the health stuff. This is one of those. Do the screenings, get your skin checked for skin cancer. It could save your life. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com, SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. All right, the press conference continues, I think. Most of the networks have broken away from it. If any other news comes from it, we'll let you know. Couple of new developments. Dan Bongino apparently is stepping down from the FBI. For a few days, we've had this rumor mill circulating that most of his staff's out of there. They've already started the transition. I don't know if he's going back to his podcast. Didn't he do a podcast prior? Like he had a Dan Bongino show or something. I don't know if that's still available for him to do. I would imagine he would have plenty of opportunities. The guy is a sort of a celebrity on his own, but it didn't seem like a good fit. Now, he's citing family issues, saying it's better for his marriage if he can be home more. I think he was trying to be in two places, and that never works. So Bongino stepping down. There'll need to be another deputy appointed. I don't know who that should be. I'm telling you, I think Kash Patel's on the hot seat right now, too. He's kind of overwhelmed by events, looks kind of wide-eyed sometimes. The FBI seems to be doing better. They're building back credibility. They've been busting real bad guys, busting up terror plots, busting up sports gambling rings. That's good old FBI work. I mean, crime rings, assisting with the illegal immigrant stuff. Now they're looking into a lot of public corruption cases. The caseload must be overwhelming. And then there's Pam Bondi in that food chain, who seems to be dragging her feet at every turn. She's been there for almost a full, well, not quite a full year, about 10 months now. And we've not seen any major public corruption arrests. They've completely fumbled the Epstein thing. And by the way, we've got 2 days on that. The deadline for the release of whatever's involved in the Epstein files is supposed to be Friday. So we'll see what happens with that. And then there's all the speculation. We'll stick with the politics of our day real quick. There's all this speculation about what the president's going to announce, if anything major, tonight. The White House has telegraphed the speech as being mostly about his accomplishments, and they're focused on affordability and some hints at new things to come next year, in a sense, taking a victory lap. Others tonight are reporting that Congress has already been briefed. We're about to take action against Venezuela. That doesn't necessarily mean war, like you're going to a protracted war. I don't think it would take much for us to take out assets of the drug cartels and put more pressure on Maduro. But if any shots are fired from our side, outside of the seizure of the tanker the other day, the president does need to go before the nation and let us know what's going on. My gut is, and I talked about this at the beginning of the show, if Venezuela is part of the announcements tonight, if there is going to be some forward motion rather than just a blockade, which they pretty much announced last night, then that action will start sometime after dark tonight. I would imagine something goes down between probably dark time tonight and the president's speech, then the president has something to actually announce. Otherwise, he's just telegraphing our next move, and that's tactically doesn't make any sense. So let's see. He may not even mention it. Among those that are saying they have inside sources on the Venezuela situation, they're saying that Congress has already been notified, and here we go. Again, back to the Brown University thing. That continues to be the big national mystery, as the press conference didn't add much today other than they put out another picture of another person they want to talk to, and you can clearly see this person's face. if this thing doesn't accelerate now with that kind of image out there. Now, I say their face because they're completely covered. It's cold in Providence, Rhode Island. This person appears to be wearing, in addition to the hoodie from the jacket, have you seen this image?
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing glasses. They appear to be Middle Eastern in descent.
It almost kind of look like a female.
And it looks a little female, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I see a stash, but that's not uncommon in some parts of the world.
I'm just saying, yeah.
And generally in Rhode Island, women have stashes up there.
And I mean, look, okay, I didn't know like what the population is to certain complexions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in Rhode Island, because you know my thoughts of Rhode Island. There's not many people that look like a
You
certain
think it's
shade.
just super white liberals?
I mean, it is Rhode Island.
It is.
The only thing that's brown is the university.
Well, that's why they named it that. They were striving for diversity.
Right. But on a serious note, with all the cameras, because, you know, we had this situation. There was a situation. I was like, well, don't they have cameras all over the place? You're talking about university. They keep looking at this same general area where this individual these two individuals walking around in the same area, looks like.
Yeah.
Don't they have, and I know the you know, I guess he's the commander or police chief or whatever. He was talking about if you have any more video to send it that way. Well, what
You
about
mean Pedro Lapacas, the police chief that can't speak English, that doesn't know what the hell he's doing? I mean, this dude gets right off a boat from Colombia. They like, all these white people are like, oh, he looks exotic. Let's put him in charge of safety.
Yeah, that guy.
That's exactly what the hell happened here. Safety was a backseat to image, and now they got the Keystone Cops. The difference in Rhode Island and the Keystone Cops is the Keystone Cops were funny. There's nothing funny about this.
Right.
Keep going. I'm sorry. They're driving me crazy.
I could tell. But I was just wondering because I know that's one of the things that, and I'm surprised no one's like asked is like, well, don't y'all have like cameras all over the place? It is a university. I can get tracked from my house to the station, and they can tell exactly how many stops I made, where my cell phone picked up, all these different things. Like, you mean to tell me you don't have none of that?
Look, with geofencing, the phone companies can tell the feds exactly what time you got to work and which roads you took. They can follow your digital footprint. There are tag readers that see your tags through several checkpoints between where you go and between where I go. Every business with a camera, every car with a camera. Teslas have cameras that are recording in traffic all the time. They're asking for all of that. The campus had 1,200 cameras. Listen to this. Don't fall out of your chair. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to the table. Ready? They had 1,200 cameras on that campus, and none of them were connected to a 24-hour emergency response center that the police in Providence had. They weren't connected.
You mean to tell me that it's the same person who does like the ice cream machine at Mickey D's?
They too lazy to do it today. The ice cream machine's broken. They probably hired that person.
Probably did.
Here's how it works. The ice cream machine broken guy who doesn't want to work on the ice cream machine decides he's fed up with McDonald's. He goes over to the Providence security team and says, hey, could I get a security job? They're like, well, are you white or male? He's like, hell no. They're like, you're hired.
Well, it says it's Rhode Island, and they got a commander. I don't think he's supposed to be your brother.
Well, I just thrown in. Was that a brother accent?
Yeah.
Hell no, my friend. I'm here to do security. You know what I saw? I'm going to go ahead and say it while we're ethnically stereotyping everybody. At least that's the point right now. I'm going through security at LaGuardia Airport on Monday. I am not making this up. And right ahead of me, as you go through the scanner line, you know, dump all your crap in the trays and all that. We don't have to take our shoes off anymore, so good news. And so I'm sitting there. There's a Hasidic Jew. You know who I'm talking about? They got the hat and the little spirally sideburn or whatever. And a guy, very nice guy, he was right in front of me. He is ahead of me. The lady working the security scanner had a hijab thing on. I'm not making this up. This has happened right in front of me. She was giving him the business. She made him go for a personal check. She wanted him up to hoo-ha. She had 5 more people come look at him. They broke that brother down, took his hat off, inspected his hat. They looked at my fat ass and said, go ahead. So you may go, my friend. I'm like, all right.
I
see what y'all doing. It's the world we live in now.
That's the one time he said, welcome to my privilege.
she was globalizing the intifada on this guy. I ain't lying. Right there in front of everybody in the airport. They hired somebody in a hijab to run security at the LaGuardia Airport. One of the same airports, I think they came out of Boston. I made a mental note. I was like, that's going on the radio show.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He's hot. I'm here. I am not a terrorist. That's all I got. I'm just going, man, what is this, the UN? It's New York, man. He was getting shaken down. And he knew it. I guess he's used to it. He's like, of course. Do I like to look under this?
Oh, man.
I know it.
Yeah.
Gutter Cap bringing you the show tonight. Y'all, listen, they're running the special again. 45% off. Take advantage of it. I think at least leaf season is mostly over. I'm going to do the final blowing of the yard and get the rest of that stuff out of there. I don't see a whole lot of them falling. So if your gutters are all packed out, it's a pretty good time to do it because they're full and you get that extra service where they're going to come out, clean that out, fix the gutters, hang everything straight so that the water's flowing, and then put their patented one-piece all-aluminum system on your house, and you're good. No more ladders, no more calling people every year, no more clogged gutters, mosquitoes making love, making mosquito babies in the summer up there, sticks, squirrel turds, tennis balls, whatever's in your gutters, all that's over. They've taken care of it. It's called Gutter Cap. This, again, is the only system, full price or not, to put on your house. But right now it's 45% off, and I'd hit them up for it. Gutter Cap Birmingham, guttercapbirmingham.com, guttercapbirmingham.com. All right, it's 3:52. Lead on Live Talk 99.5. Monster Liner bringing you the show tonight. Man, what a cool paint product. We're getting a little window as the weather warms up in the next several days all the way through Christmas, where you might be able to get those paint projects done. I mean, some of y'all can paint in the cold. I think it does better in a warmer temperature. I do better in a warmer temperature. So if you've got something rusty starting to oxidize that's sitting outside in the elements and it's going bad, particularly metal things like cars, trucks, SUVs, trailers of all types, enclosed trailers, utility trailers, tractor trailers, boat trailers, all of these things, anything metal, take care of it and coat it with Monster Liner. You can do it yourself. You do it with a roller. You don't need a sprayer. Sprays can be wasteful and messy, and you got to have a little bit of talent and usually a paint booth if it's an automobile. But this is a two-coat process that leaves a textured finish, and to me, that's the trick because, one, the roller's easy to use, but the textured finish is forgiving. If everything's not just perfect, it sort of hides any imperfections. Looks nice. A lot of folks on their first try have done some incredible projects. You can build some confidence if you want to go and look at some of their social media sites of people that have done projects and gone through whatever they've gotten to do, pick their color and painted their things and then done the befores and afters. They've even got, some of these folks got tips on what they did in the masking process, and sometimes you got to remove some parts or whatever to do a good paint job. So look at it and then reach out to Monster Liner and let them send you a sample and or a whole kit. And they do. They send you everything, the pan, the roller, the paint, all you need to get that project done. It's called Monster Liner, MONSTALINER. They're in Coleman. Did I tell you that? They're right up the road. So you'll get your kit in a hurry, monsterliner.com. I guess let me shove the Fannie Willis stuff in here. Our girlfriend Fannie Willis is back, y'all. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark, the whole year through. She was in a hearing today in the Georgia Senate. Looked like a committee room. It was a tightly packed room, very small table, being questioned about her, all that fiasco of her and Nathan's hot dog and everybody else. And she was still Fannie. Fannie ain't changed a bit. I'll give her props. She's who she is, and she ain't afraid of it. This sounds like an argument at a wig store, but it's Fannie Willis defending the fact in the first clip. This is the first clip I sent you, that Nathan, what was his name? What was Nathan's last name? Wade. That Nathan Wade billed 160 hours a week. Mind you, I did a little math. There's only 168 hours in a week. So poor old Nathan was working himself to the bone. He only got 8 hours of sleep every week. And then in that 8 hours, she was over there with the booty call. Here's Fannie defending all that.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I only allowed Mr. Wade to bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fannie Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to the screen.
She did everything but jump up on the table and twerk right in the middle of the hearing. Now, here's the second time she evoked Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I couldn't object to her evoking MTG, who just got engaged, by the way, to some internet guy or something. I don't know. Here's Fannie. I can't remember what she's bitching about here, but she was like this the whole day, just defiant, defensive, didn't answer anything. She had, I think it was a former governor. They were calling him a governor as their lawyer, this old Matlock guy, and he's laid back in his chair going, I object to that questioning. And then they just overrun him and direct their question toward her, and then she would do the whole Z-Snap thing. It was great. Listen, I know some of y'all get frustrated with stuff like this, and you wonder how can somebody like this be in a high level of government. By the way, she also declared herself today the best district attorney in the Southeast, and to show she means business, she walked in there with a $10,000 Louis Vuitton purse and flopped it on the table the whole time. She's in there talking about nobody's stealing money. She's got a $10,000 purse as a DA in Atlanta. But here's one more little soundbite from her that was electric.
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing, and you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office. And instead of doing some legislation, when someone says something inflammatory that you know is going to cause them to be the victims of crime, you ought to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't going to quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
Atlanta's got some of the worst crime in the country. Thank you, Fonnie. Look, there's anything I enjoy, I'm a consumer of this stuff in my personal life and here on the show. And I missed her because she'd been off the scene for a while since the case fell apart. But she's back on the scene now because they're looking into all this stuff. I mean, it's all her trips to the White House. She lied about who was really directing the case. She's up to her eyeballs in this stuff. Not only that, she couldn't even today tell you how much the budget for her office was. She had no idea about any of the basic management of her own office. It was fun to watch. Here's what I was getting at. One of the things I love more than anything in the world, or when somebody is just completely ignorant, but also arrogant. When you put those two together in a human being, pure ignorance, pure stupidity, and flaming arrogance, you get incredible radio show material. And I'd like to thank Fannie and the whole Fannie Willis family for contributing to this show all year, and I hope there's more to come in 2026. Thank you, Fonnie. I consider it an early Christmas present.